Week 13 in the NFL. We're up back over 100 units on the season. It feels good. 100.25 snuck in there. There's been a little bit of a gap with no videos, but we had some profitable weeks in the picks that we posted to Twitter and Instagram. So make sure you're checking that out at MikeTheMush Sports on both. We post reels there every now and then. We'll post more going into the weekend because on these videos, as you know, we don't do the player props. We let those go on the social media. Check those out. We've been red hot with player props. We have a couple for Thursday night and then some straight picks. Couple more straight stuff going on, but we're looking to increase this unit count. We're still down 7 units on the season for football alone. Been hot everywhere else, but we're clawing back. I still blame Brady. I always will. That will never stop. I know I'm wearing his color. It's a false confidence. This week, we're diving into Thursday. If you listen to this as soon as it comes out, you can always get it before the Thursday night football game because FanDuel has no sweat same game parlay, which means it's a free roll. You bet $25 as long as it's 3 legs and plus 400 or better. You get your money back if you lose it, and we've been crushing on Thursday, and we have another one tonight. Bills, Pats, ugly game, hate both. Jets fan, they both haunt me, right? But the Pats don't move the ball. They just don't move the football. And so I'm taking the Bills money line. I'm taking the first half under 21.5 because I don't think the Patriots are going to score very much, but they do run it and they do muddy the game up. Every Patriots game, I find myself hammering the under. It seems to work. These first half unders on Thursday night generally are pretty hot, so we're going to stick with that. Then I threw 2 player props in there because we can get them off for Thursday night. Mac Jones under 225.5 passing yards. It goes along with the under. It goes along with the Bills' ability to win the football game if the Patriots aren't moving it. So those all synergize pretty well. And then I do have Ramondre Stevenson for at least 25 rushing yards. It's not much. Had to get over that plus 400 threshold. We just barely did. We do have a unit on that. And if we lose, doesn't count because you get your money back. It's beautiful. Get those picks in on Thursday, and you should be watching the channel as soon as it comes out. Put the noties on, subscribe. We've been making money, I'm telling you. We got 10.5 units on the line this week. Plenty more games. A lot of big road favorites, which scare the crap out of me, right? But at this point in the season, we know enough to know who the really bad teams are. And I always find myself making money at the end of the year by just fading the awful teams. The big numbers are terrifying, but does it matter if you're going against the Rams who don't have a quarterback, don't have Cooper Kupp, don't have a running back on the roster that they trust? Their team is really bad. And so I'm taking the Seahawks alternate line minus 2.5 against the Rams and parlaying it, fading the Colts with the Cowboys minus 6.5 against the Colts. Colts are awful too. They can't move the football. If you watch last week's debacle, Matt Ryan, I mean, there's a reason he was benched. They cannot move it. They can't throw it down the field. So Seahawks minus 2.5 against the Rams and the Cowboys minus 6.5 against the Colts. Just fade the bad teams. Don't overthink it. 3 units on this one. Take care of business. I have the Cowboys a lot. I'm so worried. Mike McCarthy, I hate. I think he's awful. The fact that he didn't get fired after last year is insane. I have this sneaking feeling. If this happens, just go back to the video, cut it into a clip, post it at MikeTheMush Sports so I can see it constantly and remind myself how much of an idiot I am for betting on Mike McCarthy. Or if it goes really well, post this clip and then laughing emojis and it's all good because we're rich and it's fine. 3 units on Seahawks and Cowboys, but I am terrified of all the Cowboys bets I have. The next one, solo by itself, Seahawks minus 6.5 against the Rams. You can get that at minus 136. It's an alternate line. It creeped up to 7.5. I don't love that. I don't want to give more than the touchdown, but the 6.5 they better cover. The Rams shouldn't score. They really shouldn't score, and Geno Smith has been really good. You do worry if the Rams defense gets it together, but Aaron Donald has some injuries. Ramsey has been up and down. He's still very good, but the Seahawks have not one weapon necessarily that they need to go to. They're a really weird team. Geno dinks and dunks it all over the place, but is efficient, and that should really get the job done against this Rams team who shouldn't score. So Seahawks minus 6.5, 2 units on that one. We're at 5 units overall already. Look at us roll. But we got a lot of singles coming. Jets plus 3 against the Vikings. The Jets, I'm going to say this, and it's going to look really, it's the Jets. I get it. But they're better than the Vikings. And they're getting 3 points. And no longer can we assign 3 points to the home team just to do it for spreads. That's not how any of this works anymore. At best, the Vikings home field, Vikings have a good home field. At best, it's 2 points. At best. So you're saying that the Vikings on a neutral field are better than the Jets, and I just don't know if that's true. and I'm buying into the Mike White hype. And this happened last year, and all of a sudden Mike White beat the Bengals. I was on this channel saying he should go to the Hall of Fame. He will go to the Hall of Fame. His jersey's in there because he set some kind of record. I can't remember, but go back to that video from a year ago. And then he collapsed after that. But what I do know is that the Vikings, their defense is a little overblown. I do an independent defensive player fantasy league, and I have 2 of their players on my team, and I keep looking at it and going, they keep performing, and their defense keeps getting torched a bunch of different times. I think the Jets are going to be able to move the football, and I think the Jets' defense is so much better than the Vikings that I'm going to take the team +3. It could be a field goal game for sure, and I'll take the better defense in this. I do have worries about the Vikings' offense being much better than the Jets, but Sauce Gardner is so ridiculous. He's one of the best corners in the league already, and going against Jefferson, I'm intrigued to see how this goes. I'm remembering back to the days where Revis just shut down everybody, and it made the Jets' life a lot easier, because when you're going against one of these guys that can just break the game entirely, and you don't actually have to worry about that happening, then it's much easier to deal with Thielen and Cook and Madison and whatever tight end they have now. If Sauce can get the job done and not get dominated by Jefferson, the Jets will cover the 3. That's what we're going with. A unit and a half. Little extra sauce on the sandwich. Go Jets. Next one is Steelers at Falcons. I definitely think this spread is way wrong. You can get the Steelers money line at -108. It's basically a pick 'em. The Falcons are leaning towards -1. I can't understand why. I think the Steelers got a bad rep there for a while they were really injured, because they're a defense-first team. They have a rookie quarterback. The young running back isn't getting a lot of space because their offensive line is bad. I'm not expecting them to blow up the scoreboard, but I think the defensive, it's a trend. I like the Jets D better than the Vikings. I like the Steelers D better than the Falcons. I always feel better when you have the better defense on your team on these betting lines, because you can always fight your way back into the game. You can force a turnover. You're not going to give up a million points, fall behind a ton, hopefully. I don't expect the Steelers to dig themselves out of a hole. I just don't expect them to get in the hole in the first place. Pickett has been improving. Their Pickens has been improving. Pickett to Pickens is just a t-shirt waiting to be made. And when TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick are healthy on this defense, they really look a lot different. So I think what could happen is you could come into this game, if the Steelers happen to score first somehow, and then Watt is a nightmare for the Falcons offense to get accompanied to, they're not going to be able to come back. This is a scoring first game. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could probably parlay Steelers to score first and Steelers to win. I'm going to keep it simple. I think the Steelers win the game despite the fact that it's on the road. I don't think the Falcons are very good. 1 unit on that one at -108. We're getting back to parlays. I know I said I wasn't going to, but they're really just sweetened with the Cowboys, which is, again, terrifying. But I like the Titans. I've been trying to find a spot to fade the Eagles all season. I've been talking about it since last year. Go back to the videos from last year. We didn't believe in the Eagles. They went into the playoffs. We hammered against them and we won. I've been planning to do that all year. They just have had such an easy schedule that there's been no opportunity to fade the Eagles. Here's my opportunity. The Titans are a covering machine. Vrabel is an unbelievable coach. He will have his team ready to perform in this game. They can control the clock. Tannehill's getting a little bit healthier at least. I feel better about him than Malik Willis. Derrick Henry should be able to get chunk yards. I know this Eagles defense is really good in the trenches. I understand that. If you look at the fantasy stuff, which we'll get to in a second, they are, I think, the last team in the league you'd want to go against. And yet, the Titans just, they will cover. They compete. They always compete. I just am looking for a spot to fade the Eagles, and this feels like the spot. It feels like the Titans are undervalued. I'm teasing that up. It's not a tease. It's an alternate spread up to 7.5 on the road against the Eagles. This is just a fade of them. I actually think the Titans could maybe pull off a win here. I know that's wild. I didn't take them because we didn't do an underdog parlay because we had a lot of dogs to begin with, but I like the Titans, and if I'm getting a touchdown plus, I like my ability to stay in that game. The Eagles might eke it out, but plus 7.5 feels really good. You parlay with that with the Cowboys money line against the Colts. Please, Mike McCarthy, don't do this to me. That parlay for 1 unit, -117. Not bad. We're really just sweetening the extra points on the Titans to get over the 7.5 with the Cowboys money line. Let's get there. Another one that we like the dog in, which we'll sweeten with the Cowboys, is the Raiders. Raiders, I'm taking up to 3.5 home against the Chargers and parlaying that with the Cowboys money line for 1 unit, -110. The reason being, I don't understand why the Chargers should be road favorites, really. They haven't looked very good. They've been banged up constantly. Everyone wanted to make them their Super Bowl team and Herbert their MVP, and it just hasn't really happened. He's so unbelievable that they pull off games. I'm not denying that they can win. I just won't be shocked if this is a Raiders victory or a field goal game. The concern... I don't know what the concern really is with the line here. I mean, I know the Raiders are wildly disappointing, but you just have to look at it like, at what point do I just not believe in a team enough to be a road favorite, right? It's exactly how I felt about Denver last week, and we put it on our picks, and we hit a couple of them. Why was Denver ever a road favorite? I know it's Carolina, and I know this is the Raiders, but it doesn't matter. That line is not accurate. You don't deserve to be a road favorite unless you've actually shown me something legitimate. I think the Raiders are a little undervalued. I think the Chargers are a little overvalued, and I'll take Derek Carr in this spot, who I'm hoping actually is the Jets quarterback next year. I can't believe I just said that, but I like Derek Carr. Is that crazy? Raiders plus 3.5 against the Chargers, parlayed with the Cowboys. Money line against the Colts. Do not screw it up, Mike McCarthy. I mean, if I have to watch them throw a challenge flag at a bad time in a 6-point game, and then they give up a 90-yard touchdown, I'm going to throw up. And I'll put it on YouTube, I guess. That'll get flagged and taken down, but I'll put it on Instagram, at MikeTheMush Sports. The last one is a 4-way parlay. We're trying to bump up the odds. I'm taking a lot of teams in this one, a lot of alternate spreads. I have the Jets plus 7.5 at the Vikings. We already talked about that. I slipped the Browns money line in here against the Texans. Deshaun Watson coming back, revenge game. That's actually not the reason I like it. It's a reason I'm actually terrified of this pick and didn't put it in before. I don't know what I'm getting out of Deshaun Watson, but I do know that the Texans cannot stop the run. They can't. We've been betting against them, against the run, all their running backs, and we will do it again before Sunday hits at MikeTheMush Sports. You will see parlays with player props in there, and I promise you will have Chubb in there unless something weird happens. They can't stop the run. So the Browns should control this game in the trenches, and Deshaun Watson shouldn't have to do very much in order to get this victory. It just scares me. I have this weird feeling that he's going to go back, Texans are going to be fired up, and they're going to win this game for no reason. I don't know. I was going to hammer the Browns the same way I hammered the Seahawks, just saying, well, they're better than just fade the bad teams, right? But yeah, something about that one. Pit in my stomach. But I do think Chubb will get the victory in the end. Jets plus 7.5 at the Vikings. Browns money line. Seahawks minus 2.5 against the Rams. Cowboys minus 2.5 against the Colts. We're so big. It's our anchor team. I'm scared of it. Plus 187, 1 unit. I feel like we're going to hit that one. Cowboys aren't going to let us down, right? Right? Deep fantasy options. If you're still in it, you're injured, you're trying to work your way back to that 6th seed, just make your way in. You can get there. At quarterback, I think Jared Goff is an option against Jacksonville. This Jacksonville defense in my head is always better than they actually are when I watch them play football. And Goff moves the ball. His receivers are healthy. Chark is back. I like that addition for them. They have 2 running backs healthy. They have a lot of weapons. Goff has been putting up 20s in fantasy pretty much almost every week, aside from his meltdown weeks and or when they were injured. If they're healthy at home in the dome against a bad team, he puts up reasonable numbers, and he's not going to lose the game for you. Kenny Pickett I also like at Atlanta. I told you I like the Steelers, and I just feel like Pickett is the better quarterback in that matchup, and I think their defense is going to give them a lot of opportunities for him to put up some points. I'd also take Tannehill at Philly. I know it has a red next to it. They're ranked. Philly's defense is ranked really high. I get it. I just have this feeling that the Titans are going to compete, and generally when Tannehill's healthy, he'll give you an 18 to 20 week. So I think any of those, if you're really desperate, are fine. At running back, I like Jordan Mason. I wouldn't start him, but I like him as an ad. Christian McCaffrey just doesn't get the whole workload. I don't think they're going to give him the whole workload until they get to the playoffs. McCaffrey could end up having a nagging injury at any point, and one of these San Francisco running backs has to step in. Wilson is gone. Mitchell is back on the IR, and I think Jordan Mason could be the guy. He got a couple of carries last week, and he's young. They have no problem putting young running backs in there. They have the zone scheme. You just have to hit the hole. That's all you have to do. So I'm stashing him on my bench. I just think it's an easy ad. And Amir Abdullah against the Chargers. Chargers don't stop the run that well, and Josh Jacobs is questionable. I just think he's worth having on your roster just in case something goes wrong. At receiver, Sky Moore for Kansas City. Tony's still hurt. Juju he's been up and down. He had a couple of good weeks prior to the concussion. He came back last week, didn't look great. I do believe in him, but I do think with Hardman on the IR and Sky Moore getting more and more accustomed to this offense, you saw it last week. I just saw something there. They wanted to get him the ball in space, and when he gets it in space, he really runs, and he wears a running back's number, so it's very confusing, but I'd have him on the end of your bench. And also, I'm sticking with the Titans. Robert Woods at Philly. Don't ask me why. I don't have good reason for this. It's in the gut. I feel it in the pit of my stomach. Robert Woods could do something this week. I've been waiting for him to have a week where you're like, oh, he's fully recovered from the ACL and Tannehill can actually throw to him. Treylon Burks should open up some space for them. I just feel like they're going to move the ball against Philly. Call me crazy. Tight end, Tyler Conklin, New York Jets, Mike White, Hall of Fame quarterback, Mike White football, also is the creator of White Lotus. You guys get it. At Minnesota is a revenge game for Conklin, and I do think with all the receivers there, Minnesota is going to have to play these high safety looks, which every defense has been playing. Conklin's going to be up and over the middle. He's good, and they look to him in the red zone too. I really think you could start him. I also think Daniel Bellinger, if he ends up playing, is coming back for the Giants. Before the Giants had decimated injuries everywhere, there was a couple week span where Bellinger was like, oh, he's kind of the number one target. Wendell Robinson was still healthy. He was still taking targets from him. Tony's gone now. I mean, who are they going to throw to? If Bellinger's back in there, he's going to get targets. I don't know if you want to start him, but he's worth having on your bench if you're not having one of the premier tight ends. Defense, I think Seattle against the Rams is the play. If no one has added them by now, it's in a crazy league that you're in. But I would also get away with playing the Giants against Washington. Home team. Washington's offense doesn't strike fear in me. I didn't touch that game because I have no idea who's going to possibly score. And I do really like Washington, actually. I think they deserve to be road favorites a little bit, which is why I didn't fade them. But the Giants' defense is better than they've been showing lately, and I just have a feeling they're getting a little healthier. I think in a pinch you can start them, and you're not going to get blown out by Washington. I'll also take Pitt against Atlanta. That's the one I actually really like. I'm just fading Atlanta. I'm on Pittsburgh this week. That's everything. That's all we got. We got a lot more sports coming, more picks coming. There's going to be player props on the Instagram and the Twitter at MikeTheMush Sports. Subscribe to the channel so you get this on Thursdays. You get it before the game comes out. You get that free roll in. You celebrate later when we win. And if we don't, you got 10.5 units to play with. We're going to make some money. We're going for it. Please, Mike McCarthy. Please don't let me down.